Leagues Cup is in full swing, and FCC looked to be in good form after their first match against Monterrey, but in their second match against a surprisingly good FC Juarez team, the Orange and Blue had to fight back to send the game to penalties. And in the end, as you know, it wasn't their day, and they walked away with only a point to show for it. Did they underestimate Juarez? Did everybody underestimate Juarez? Did they send their best penalty kickers to the spot? We'll discuss all that and more tonight on episode 431 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm here with a great cast of characters who we thought we had a different cast coming into tonight. At least one of you, Jose, you were stepping in for somebody and ended up stepping in for somebody else. Welcome to the show tonight, Jose.
We're flexible, if anything, around here.
We are. And Coach is back again. Coach, I think, were you on last week or was it the week before? We missed you here recently.
Every time FC Cincinnati doesn't have a good result, I try to just skip that next pod. I don't know what happened this time, but I don't know, but there's rumors of another Justin Blair ejection and suspension. So I'm not sure what he said this time. Maybe he said Roman should have come out and caught that and badmouth Roman. Maybe he said Dado needs to go down a league. I don't know, but all of a sudden here I am, even though FC Cincinnati, didn't get the win.
Well, it was, I think, the Miami match. You were thinking, I'm going to miss that one. It means Cincinnati's going to get blown away in that game. And they didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but we came away with the 0-0 draw in that one. I think, right? It was 0-0. Man, that feels so long ago with all these League Cup matches going on here. Jose, we definitely reached out to you today because of your background, your history with Liga MX. And so leaning heavy into you, my friend, tonight in...
Anything I can do, you know me.
These teams that are coming to TQL that we're playing against, the history of Chivas, you told us a little bit about tonight.
The history there.
So I know we'll get into some of that a little bit later. Before we get to our best and worst, though, we do want to thank Apollo Home, our show sponsor here. Give Apollo a call for all your HVAC needs. Mention you're a CST listener and that Mike said to give them a call. Tell them you're a CST listener and they will give you a deal. Thank you, Apollo, for all you do for Cincinnati Soccer Talk and the soccer community in Cincinnati. All right, guys. Before we get too far into the show, there's a lot to talk about with two matches this week, Leagues Cup match. So we've got best and worst. You've got two games to choose from. Coach, I'm going to start with you. Best and worst of the last couple of matches.
Yeah, for my best, I'm going to go back a couple of matches, and I'm going to say that win over a very good Monterrey squad. Because, listen, if we are going to pick nits and worry when we draw at Miami or can't win in a penalty shootout over FC Juarez or all of these things, then when one of Los Gigantes comes, did I say that right, Jose? I'm just saying, comes to town, and you win. I don't care if it's by 1 goal or 2 goals. I don't care if you get the win over Monterrey or Tigres or a club like that. You celebrate it. So my best is a very good win over a very good squad. My worst, I'm just going to say it, guys. It is the FC Juarez circus led by the head clown, Martin Varini, the coach there. For their first act, they thought, let's show how we can fall down and hold our faces when nothing has hit us there. And they played that over and over. And then you roll into the second half and you pull the clown car up of substitutes and you have Rodolfo Pizarro tumble out of it. And then he didn't, I think, stand up a single time on the pitch. He just spent his time tumbling and laying on the ball and grabbing it and asking for cards. Every foul, somebody was looking at the ref and giving the yellow card symbol, that the players going over and lurking as the referee looked in the monitor for VAR. I mean, it was an absolute circus. What a clown show.
I'm watching that game on my phone. I was talking to you guys earlier. I was watching on my phone, and it sounds like it was as bad as it looked. Like, it's hard to see all the little things when you're watching on your phone, but everybody I've talked to, every comment that I've seen, that game was as bad as I thought it looked on my little screen that I was watching it on. So I'm glad to hear that I wasn't watching a different game than all y'all, but man, it does sound like it was a circus out there. And what I did see at the end of that game, when I got home to see it on the big screen, right, was Pizarro still calling for cards. Pizarro still falling when no one's touching him. I think it was maybe Hadebe or somebody breathed on him and he fell, just absolutely flopped. It was something. It was something to see. It was a bad game in that way. Jose, best and worst.
Best, well, I have to say it was the gritty tie. They really come from behind 2-0. All of a sudden, a few minutes they're tied. The team was playing really well. It was a different team. I mean, as of that first goal, it just changed. They had already changed, but to me, that was my best.
Mhm.
Not the worst. Well, hang on. Also, I have to mention Echenique. Even though we didn't see him a lot, I liked what I saw, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play more. So I think that it was a good indication, and hopefully it continues. My worst, I mean, I'm going to say it. I'll be unpopular. Evander missing that PK. I mean,
What?
you got your best guy stepping up. Says, okay, this will go into sudden death. And it's like, what? What happened? Come on. And honorable mention on worst to Flores, who was constantly burned in that first half.
Yeah, it did seem like the ball came down his side a lot in that match. And yeah, for the Evander PK, I did not see that coming, but he was one of the guys that didn't really take his time and think about it. He just knew where he was going and went. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on as we get into, do we get the right guys taking the PKs? Obviously, Evander takes one, but do you wait till the fifth one? I don't know. My worst, I'll say just in general, that game going to PKs, it seemed that Cincinnati had the upper hand in moments and just couldn't finish. We had Kai Kamara get a ball. He turned, had a heavy touch, couldn't get on the end of it, couldn't finish it. Anyway, we had a couple balls across the middle and a couple shots that we just have. Yeah, we had opportunities and just didn't finish. So that was my worst. The game shouldn't have gone to PKs. My best is also seeing the young guys on the field. We saw Steven Jimenez out there playing a pretty decent match from what I could tell. We saw Echenique out there, and to be fair, I didn't see as close up as I would have liked, like on a bigger screen. It looked like he was doing a pretty decent job. He was making runs for a while. I didn't know it was him out there because, again, phone screen, right? But when I realized who it was, I thought he was doing a pretty decent job out there. I am liking what at least I saw. It's going to take somebody a little while to really get in the flow of the game and build the chemistry with the team. But I thought he went out there and showed what the tools that he had. And then if we can refine those with the players around him, I was really excited about that. So, my best and worst there, really in line with what you guys are saying. We got do we have any best and worst there in the comments? It sure doesn't. If you're in the comments, we'd love to see
anybody there,
your best and worst. And just invite you to join in the show as we go. Guys, let's get into our first game of the week against Monterrey on Thursday. We had a pretty decent lineup to start, I thought. We rolled out some guys to win a game, right? We had Evan Leroux. I don't even think Celentano was on the bench that night. Is that right? We had Leroux out there playing. We had Yedlin. We had Robinson, Engel. Pretty normal back line, pretty normal lineup. Obviously, we're missing Denke out there, and we're missing a couple other guys for injuries. But it looked like Coach threw out a team to win the game against Monterrey. Not that he didn't against Juarez. We'll talk about that later. Evander scoring, right? We've got it was a 3-2 finish. We had Evander with Evander with 2 assists. Played a good game, scoring the first goal in the 31st minute there. And then a couple late goals to keep Cincinnati was up 3-1. And then they were up 3-2. Like, I was a little nervous the game was going to go a little longer because these teams that we play, I guess Monterrey, if I'm remembering correctly, the Monterrey games that we played last season at TQL Stadium, Monterrey seemed to come on strong at the end, like the very last 10 or 15 minutes. And I was getting nervous there at the end. But in the end, they did come away. As you guys watched that match, standout performances, plays that you saw, individual players that really stood out to you in that Monterrey match.
It's got to be Evander. I mean, obviously, and he scores on an assist from Dado. Then he assists Orellano and Buca. He was all over. He was creating, was disrupting. I mean, he had a very good game. I felt the team overall had a good game. Yeah, their passing was sometimes erratic, but then again, they were facing Monterrey. And Monterrey knows how to press, knows how to disrupt, and nonetheless, they made plays. They got through. They had several opportunities. But to me, Evander was a standout. But again, I have to mention Buca, because when Buca's on the pitch, and we'll talk more about it at the Juarez game, the team just seems to function more effectively. I'm not gonna say more efficiently, but more effectively. So Buka to me has become kind of a key player there. The problem is we only have one Buka.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
The only player that I was really unhappy with in the Monterrey game was Sergio Santos.
Sergio
He just
Santos.
had a rough match, despite he almost set up Evander for a long range goal, right early in the game. I think in the first couple of minutes where Evander flashed the ball just wide. And after that, he just kind of disappeared. Lots of bad touches and things. Everybody else I was pretty happy with. I will echo Jose's thoughts on Buka having a solid game. And then a guy that I want to call out because I give crap all the time is Lucas Engel. And I think as a left center back, I like him quite a bit. As a left wing back, I'm a little more tepid, but as a left center back, I think he played a solid match out there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Engel's been interesting to me because I thought he was the guy at the very beginning of the season. The first couple games we saw, even preseason matches we saw, I thought Lucas Engel's going to be that guy. And then he wasn't. Right. He's sending balls across that are nowhere near players. Then he quits sending balls across and trying to take them on his own, trying to dribble players, not as fast as I thought he should be or was initially. And then he comes on. I feel like these last couple of matches, Lucas Engel, and maybe it's the comfort level with the team. I don't know. I feel like he's really asserted his leadership on that back line. I feel like he's gotten in players' faces. I feel like he's really been a motivating factor there. Regardless of his play, I like his presence on the field. I will say I do like him slotted in to the left center back a little bit more, because that means we get somebody on the left side that can and will send a ball in a little bit more accuracy. But I thought he played well.
Did you guys notice? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We were talking about Lucas Engel, his penalty kick against Juarez, that the Juarez goalie was trying to psych him out and trash talk him. And when he scored, he kind of pointed at him. And I think he might have told him to quiet, something like that.
He did.
Like,
Gave him the shush.
I like that. I like that.
He did. I wasn't sure what the Juarez goalkeeper had said in that moment or done. I wasn't really watching him, but there was another game where that happened earlier. I forget what game I was watching. It was maybe the Miami game that went into penalties. Same sort of thing happened. A little bit more dramatic in that one than this one, but
more dramatic in Miami. No, that could never be the case.
Was that the same game? Wasn't it? Messi's bodyguard came out on the field. Was that the story I saw? Because it was another player.
Yeah.
And Jordi Alba was the one who gave the old shush.
That's what it was. Thank you for reminding me of that. My brain is going out the door these days. Anyway, Jose, back to your point about Evander and the way he played in that first match against Monterrey. I think he's really stepped up. I think, and maybe the guys around him are getting used to the way he plays. We've talked about on other shows, Coach, right? His lack of urgency is just his style. And it seems to be working now, when at the beginning of the season, something wasn't clicking. But now it seems like everything is hitting for him. Maybe he's finding the spaces. Maybe his teammates are finding him. Coach, what do you see in Evander's play that's different maybe now than it was early in the season? Is it him or is it the guys around him?
I think it's both, but I do notice it looks to me like Evander is demanding the ball more often, as opposed to kind of floating and waiting for it to come. Like he's going and getting the ball more and trying to make things happen. Early in the season, when he received the ball in a little pocket of space, often he'd turn, and if there wasn't an immediate pass, he would just turn back and then keep the ball moving, which in some ways is good. But when you are the best player on a team that's struggling to score, sometimes you need to turn, and if there's not an immediate pass, you need to beat the guy in front of you. And that's what I think Evander's been doing more often, but it doesn't always work. I thought he was dreadful against Miami. Of course, a lot of players on the pitch were, and I know now we're talking about games, way in the past. But to bring it back to the present, he was really good against Monterrey. When he scored that first goal, it was like he scored in the World Cup. He went nuts. He was fired up. And then he wasn't quite as good against Juarez, which we'll get to when we get to that match.
Yeah, I don't know that we don't need to wait that long to get to the Juarez match. That's the one that's freshest in our minds. That's the one that we just walked away from. Well, that's the one that just got us all excited at the end of a game as Evander scores one and looks like he gets an Olympico, but comes off the head of a defender to tie the game, to send it to penalties. We're excited. The game goes to penalties. And then we watch what happens there. Let's talk about the Juarez match a little bit more, Coach. I'll defer to you to start this one, because the game started a little crazy. The game ended up a little crazy, and you've already expressed your feelings about how Juarez played in this match. So I'll kick it to you to walk us through the beginning of what you saw in this Juarez FC Cincinnati match.
I'm wondering if there's any truth to the rumor that I'm just starting right now that the Red Bull organization is thinking about purchasing FC Juarez, because that was how they played, not just in their, to put it politely, poop housery that they were engaging in, but also in the like all out press that really caused FC Cincinnati some problems. I mean, they were swarming the ball. You heard Jose talk about putting multiple players on Evander at different times of the game. You know, they were really swarming the ball, really compressing space, and FC Cincinnati had a hard time dealing with it until those young guys came on, and you know, had you like Ender Echenike being able to run in behind a little bit, and they could play some balls into the channel to relieve pressure. The team continues to try to play this game as if they are, the heyday Barcelona trying to play out of the press, when sometimes I think with Kai Kamara up there, with Luca Orashano or somebody up top, he's pretty quick. I think sometimes you just need to play the ball long and live to fight another day.
So on that note, Coach, I noticed when our outside backs or even our outside center backs will play the ball forward, when they end up doing it, it does feel like a lot of times it's a last resort. Or they wait just too long. Like maybe there's a guy moving that direction, but they look at anybody else that they could pass to close before they send it long. Is that, and maybe I'm just not looking further up the pitch to see if there is a target or not. But even in that instance, when it's not a last resort, are they taking too long to play the ball, or is that the right move to hold it, see if Evander's going to check to me, see if Buka's going to check to me before I play it long?
I mean, playing it long should be a last resort, but the problem is when that last resort is coming, too often the pass before the guy who gets it, who has the last resort, is a pass that puts the guy under pressure. We saw in the first goal that was scored where Engel tried to mega guy dribbling out of his own defensive third, which, by the way, kids, if you're listening, don't try to do that. But even before that, Hadeb plays it to Engel while Engel is checking back towards the ball. So he's getting the ball on his right foot facing away from goal. And what's he going to do with it there? He turns and there's a Juarez player in his grill, and the best he can hope for is to play it off him for a throw. The worst is a turnover, and that's what happened. It's like, it's the lack of responsibility. Hadeb needs to realize, sure, Engel is open there, air quotes, scare quotes, whatever you want to say, but if you give him the ball, that space, it's called a pressure pocket. It's a pocket of space that looks open, but if you play it into, the trap collapses. And Juarez put them in that kind of pressure all the time. Guys on the outside center backs, those are the guys I'm going to target, whether it's Hadeb or whether it's Flores on the other side. They need to not play the simple ball to the wing back unless the guy has a time to turn and look up the field. They need to be the ones stepping on the ball and being like, am I going to play this long or am I going to recycle it?
Yeah, Jose, your thoughts on the game? It looked like, I know Cincinnati to me looked like came out a little flat. They were being pushed in the press, right? What did, as you saw the game get started, what are you thinking?
Well, in the beginning, it looked fine for FCC. I mean, we were moving the ball, we were creating opportunities, but then, you know, the Juarez started applying the press, and our guys just looked flat. I mean, it's one thing to struggle with the press, but it's another. And again, this was just my impression watching the game, and I watched it again today, by the way, kind of torturous, but I watched it. It just seemed like it's giving up is not the word. It's like they didn't know what to do with it. It's like, guys, you're better than this. I mean, you have shown us in other instances, yeah, you struggle with the press always, but you've shown us in other instances that you can get out of this. And then Evander was stymied. I mean, they always had at least two guys shadowing him. And if one kind of moved away, another one would walk in or run in. And he never really got comfortable until the second half when they had Buka come in along with Miles. So to me, it was just, again, it was a failure of FCC, the players on the pitch, and maybe even Pat saying, how do I get out of this press, which is suffocating? And yeah, also very New York Red Bullish, you know, kind of thuggish and dirty and clownish. But you're going to face those kinds of teams sooner or later, whether it's in league play or CONCACAF or CCC or league, whatever you want to call it, it's going to happen. So I'm not smart enough to tactically say, here's what they need to do. what I was observing is they just couldn't figure out a way of getting out of that press.
Yeah. To me, as I watch the game, we talk about CONCACAF games, right? Like coach calls it a circus. I call it it was the most CONCACAF game I've seen in a while that wasn't a CONCACAF game, necessarily international match. They were fouls that, they weren't tactical fouls. They were fouls that almost like I took it personal that you beat me. And so now I'm going to like grab you and throw you to the ground kind of fouls that were dirty. I failed to put the yellow cards and things, the disciplinary actions up in the rundown. So I'm not quite certain where that was. I just know there wasn't enough cards shown, right? With the players getting in referee's face, the players getting each other's faces. Like the game wasn't, I wouldn't call it the most out of control game I've ever seen, but it was a game that was physical. It was dirty. I guess my point in saying all that is, as you mentioned, like you're going to face teams like that. But it seems to me, and this is a very general statement, it seems to me the style of play in Liga MX for some teams is much more physical, is much more brutal than a lot of the teams, even New York Red Bulls in Major League Soccer.
No question. And in Juarez, you have a team that has not done well in several years. I mean, they just haven't. They didn't even make the playoffs, and everybody and their brother, by the way, makes the playoffs in Liga MX, and they didn't make the playoffs. So here comes a team that they know, okay, we're not going to be as good as these guys. I mean, we know the reputation of FCC. We have great players. They're one of the top teams in the league. We cannot compete with them skill for skill, tactic for tactic. But we can try to slow them down by being, thuggish and dirty and clownish. And they have a new coach. I mean, this is a new coach too. He's a young guy, 34 years old, Uruguayan. Was never much of a successful coach, mind you, as a head coach. I looked up his record. So he's probably trying also to prove a point to the people that hire him. Hey, I can figure out a way of stopping good teams. So we're going to go after them. We don't have all the skills yet. They did bring in a couple of good players, Brazilian midfielder and the Portuguese guy, the forward. I forget their names right now. So they did bring him in. They're upgrading, but they're not there yet. The rest of their players are just Pizarro. Look, Pizarro had great potential as a player. And he squandered it. We're not sure what happened. It was probably just the fame. He started partying. He didn't live up to his potential. So I think, and this is speculation, I think what you saw in Pizarro too is, I'm still here. I'm still playing. And I'm going to make a presence one way or another. And the way I'm going to do is try to disrupt these guys, get in under their skin. But he is a guy that could have been, the next Iniesta. But he just squandered his talent. So what you saw again, a team that knows could not compete head to head, a team that hasn't been doing well, but a team that has a couple of good new players and a new head coach. So, well, how can we stop these guys? Well, we're going to be really physical with these guys. So, yes, Juarez turned out to be that way.
My question, though, in that is they haven't won a lot. They've got a new coach. They've got a couple of new players. I know Liga MX is just getting started with their season, right? We hear that over and over on the broadcast, but they came in and they took it to Charlotte. They came into Cincinnati and took care of business most of the game against Cincinnati. Is this a team that you think this year in Liga MX, since you're the most familiar with the league, is going to surprise some people? Or are they just coming in and taking care of business against Major League Soccer teams that have not seen this play?
I think they will because, what I've been reading some of the press releases. If they do have big plans to bring in other players, they probably won't be able to do it this season, the start of this first season, because, Mexican League has 2 seasons, Apertura, Clausura. So probably won't be able to do this, but they brought in 2 very good players and a new coach. So I think this year they're probably going to surprise people. I think they will make it into the playoffs. The jury's still out to me. Okay, is this going to be their style of play also in Liga MX? I don't know. But what is true is that what we saw, I think, is that they knew they could not compete head to head with FCC. Now, I don't know what happened in Charlotte, by the way. I haven't watched the game. Maybe Charlotte, underestimated them, fell asleep. Who knows? I was surprised at the result and how they ran over Charlotte. And maybe this team is a little bit better than I give them credit because of the way they played against FCC. I don't know because, again, I didn't watch Charlotte. I think they will surprise people. But, again, they are in a rebuilding stage right now.
And I will say, the easiest way to get on the same page as a team is to have a really clearly defined style that has nothing to do with skill. right? And press like crazy and fall down and pretend to be hurt when you're fouled is a pretty well-defined style, at least what we've seen out of them. And it's, if you get all your guys bought into it as a coach, you're St. Louis City. And what happens is that fades down the stretch as people, as other teams catch up and as people understand what you're doing. You know, I think if FC Cincinnati had more film or more time to study a team like FC Juarez, they might have known to play a little more Red Bullsy, a little more over the top. That's what they've started doing when FCC play Red Bulls, right? They know it's going to be a rock fight, so they bring bigger rocks. And FC Cincinnati almost looks like they got caught off guard. So maybe it's the fact that there's so many new players and a new coach and kind of a new style. And there weren't a lot of Liga MX games for them to look at with this team to study that film. Might have kind of played into FC Juarez's hands.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And my question in that, coach, is, maybe you've alluded to it already, is maybe a really dumb question, but is there something to learn from this match, whether you're FC Cincinnati, how to break a press, or it's another, you know, an FC Cincinnati opponent that we'll face later in the Major League Soccer season, to say, this is the way, this is the pattern, this is what you got to do to beat Cincinnati in this way? Is it, or do teams come away like, this is our style, we're going to stick to our style? Like, as a coach, what are you seeing in this game? Something to learn, or is it just, this is a one-off thing that just happened?
I think that what you learn is who are going to be the leaders on your team. You show the team this film and you talk about these moments when Juarez players are getting in the referee's face, and you say, where FC Cincinnati guys, my guys, where are you coming up and trying to get in between the player and the ref? You know, when the Juarez players are all over there crowded around the VAR screen, which one of you is going over, not getting a card, but kind of like bumping them and like being like, hey, ref, if you don't do something about this, there's going to be a brawl. Like we see this in Mexico USA games, right? What's been said about USA over and over is they're not willing to fight. They don't have the grunter or whatever that to really get after it. And so you have to know, how can you start to not play dirty, but how can you start to make those tactics work against them? If the game feels like it's getting out of control, the referee starts giving more cards. And who does that favor? That favors the team that actually wants to play. So how can you do a little pushing, get in guys' faces, play act a little bit yourself when Pizarro runs through Hidebe's back when the ball's going out of bounds and Hidebe stands up strong and just takes it like a man? Yeah, good. I'm glad. That's what I want my players doing. But in a game like that, Hidebe needs to go down and needs to be looking at the ref and being like, I just got slaughtered. What are you going to do about it? Right? You need to create that sense of doubt for the official that things are going to stay under control. And FC Cincinnati almost played like they were too in control, while FC Juarez was allowed to just get away. You know, both teams got carded twice in that match. And if you look at the number of fouls, and if you just think, if anybody watched that match, how that match went, I mean, it is unconscionable that both teams ended with only 2 yellow cards.
Yeah. So
one thing though, Brian, and I probably didn't answer that part of your question. Liga MX in general is a very tactical oriented league. Now, if you watch a regular season game, for the most part, these are kind of boring games because the teams are just trying to get enough points to get to the playoffs. Once the playoffs start, you see an elevated style. It's still very tactical, but you start seeing a little bit more physicality because now things are on the line. It's the playoffs. You know, you can't really afford to lose or to tie at the wrong moment. So it's almost like 2 different seasons. You see very boring games during the regular season. Playoffs come around, very tactical, very tactical. Yes, it's physical. I mean, it's soccer after all. It is bodily contact, but nothing like we saw yesterday with Juarez. Come the playoffs, it's a different level of intensity. Yeah. And the final usually are very intense games. It's 2-legged, visiting reciprocal visits, as we call it. So Liga MX overall is a very tactical oriented league. Yes, there's physicality, but you don't start seeing that until the playoffs.
Yeah. And I wonder too, like, we've got to recognize the fact that these Liga MX teams are coming to the United States. They're playing all away matches far from home. And there's something about going to an away game with a chip on your shoulder, with a little bit extra grit than you play with maybe at home. So there is something about that maybe we're seeing a little bit of. So all that to say, it's interesting to me, as physical and as rough and as at times dirty and mouthy as that game was, that this was the game we saw two young guys see the pitch that haven't seen it yet. One, an Ender Ekenike, who just joined the team, which is why he hasn't been out there yet. But Steven Jimenez making his 2025 senior team debut in one of the most absurd games that we've seen this season. So you've got two young guys coming out there making their debut. It's interesting to me, the fact that, you know, Noonan even put them out there in this game. We needed fresh legs, right? We needed young guys to run, but he never puts them out there. But he puts them out there in a Leagues Cup match that's this rough and physical. As you guys watch their play, we've hinted at it a little bit. As you watch their play, what did you see in Ekenike and Jimenez that, you know, made you nervous or got you a little excited about the way they played that we haven't seen before?
I'm going to start with Jimenez, and then I'm going to let Jose take Echenike because he mentioned him off his honorable mention for a best. Jimenez is a guy who I've been calling for to get minutes for like 4 years now. I picked him as my breakout player of the year like 2 years in a row, and then I skipped last year. You know, he hasn't broken out, newsflash. But he did not look phased when he came into this physical match against a Liga MX's opponent when, by the way, they were down a goal, I think, when he came on, you know, or maybe yes, it was tied, but yeah. So like it was a critical moment. He only lost the possession on 2 of his 19 touches. He had 2 tackles, won both of them, and he was dribbled once, but only because he tried to use his body and really body into the player and get physical on the tackle. And the guy was able to touch it around him. And because he used his body so much, the guy couldn't take off get by him. He recovered right away. You know, Jimenez looked like a man on the field, not a boy. He's only 18. I get that, but he looked like he belonged. And I think there is no reason to continue to roll out Anunga and Buka in every single match for 90 minutes or try to like shoehorn a guy like Dado or even a Vander into a deeper role in midfield when you got a guy like Jimenez that let him sink. If he's going to sink, fine. Let's know that now and let's let him move on. And maybe he'll be a great USL player someday, you know, but from what I saw, I think he deserves more minutes. Echenike.
Yeah, no, while we're still on Jimenez, that's a guy that I wonder too. Like I've not been really disappointed in the few minutes that I've seen him play in years past. Like last year when he saw the field a couple of times, I wasn't disappointed in his play. He was young and needed more time, needed more minutes. And again, you're right. I think he's composed when he's out there. He looks strong. He looks a little bit bigger than he probably is. He plays a little bit bigger than he is. And so I wonder, that's my question there, is why is he not getting the minutes? We don't know what's going on with Noonan and him. We talked about Noonan and Dado earlier in the season. Maybe there's something there. Maybe Noonan sees some immaturity, but what I've seen on the field, I've really been impressed with for as young as he is to get out there. Now I'd like to see him play more. Maybe he starts. Marianne Cunningham's in the chat here tonight saying maybe he starts on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Noonan's going to go that far. Now let's move on to Echenike. Jose, what'd you see in his play? I
gotta say, I mean, I think it was his first or second touch. You know, he looked nervous because the ball went out of bounds, and I even grunted, "Oh man, what are you doing? I mean, geez, it's out of bounds. What are you going to do?" But then afterward, he just settled in. I mean, he seemed to have a certain elegance in the way he moved, the way he created opportunities, the way he went after the ball, the way he opened up space for himself. So I really liked what I saw. Again, it was just a few minutes. But if he continues that way, I mean, if he has those tools at a display, they're consistent, he can apply them and he can integrate themselves in the team and the team can play with him. I think we have a really, really good player there in the making. I was just impressed overall how easily he seemed to fit. Yes, of course, with the glitches of what it means to play with your team in a real game versus a practice game. I get that. But I really liked what I saw, and I thought that we could have the making here a really good player. I don't know if he's a starter yet, but he could be one of those guys that comes off the bench in critical moments and to turn a game around.
Yeah, he looked really nervous, and let's also not forget he was playing out of position. He came in as a winger and probably going to play wing back, yet he was playing as sort of like a half space sort of striker / number 10, along with Orshano, with no target forward. So, but with his speed and his ability to run the channels, I would love to see him out there with a target guy like Kai, or when Denke gets back. He was buzzing around, right? He looked nervous. We talk about how Evander looks like he plays always so languid and slow. Like Echenike, I think his touches looked like he couldn't wait to touch the ball again after he touched it the first time. He's like, touch it, you know. But he was buzzing around. His defensive numbers were really good because it looks like he was just so excited to get out there. And so, you know what team could use some youthful exuberance to maybe not come out so flat sometimes? I'll give you 2 guesses, and the first one doesn't count.
I want to say something about Jimenez youth though, because in the last Gold Cup, Mexico debuted this kid who's 16 years old, and we were saying, "What do you?" I mean, I was a coach. What are you talking about? I mean, you're going to play this kid against the U.S.? Are you kidding me? He played very well, and the coach said, "I saw something in him, and besides, how the hell is he going to mature?" Excuse my French. If we don't give him minutes in the really high stakes game.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good player. There was just a story about him recently too, about jersey exchanging, jersey swaps. Did you see that? We can come back to that later.
Oh, no, I didn't.
His team pranked him. It was pretty funny. Anyway, we'll come back to that a little bit later. Let's jump ahead a little bit. I want to get back to the penalties and the shootout there. But while we're on these young guys, right, Echenike and Jimenez, as you look ahead to Thursday, it's a must-win game if we want to advance. And even at that, who knows what's going to happen with the rest of them. There's a slight chance. Are you starting either of these two players, or are you rolling out the team that you know can win, should win in this match against Chivas coming up?
Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't put Santos in. Let's just start there. Not put Santos in. No, seriously.
He wasn't on the board yet, Jose.
I know. I wouldn't put Santos in. I would play Buca again. I know. I mean, we're going to run the guy down, but if we really have to go for the win, I don't know if you play Echenike and Jimenez to start with, but I think you can put him in the second half. Maybe not the start, but you should, because what better way of gauging their potentials? Okay, kids, you know, we're winning, whatever, you know, 1-0, 2-0. It's still a long shot. Put them in, see what they can do into this high pressure situation.
Is this a game to gauge potential, coach, or no?
I would really consider starting Echenike at right wing back, mostly just because I'm so tired of DeAndre Yedlin. After he missed that header from 2 yards, I literally wanted to be like, just retire. Just like, I'm sorry. I hate saying that about a guy because he is a loyal servant to every club he's been at. He's apparently a really good leader. Seems like a great dude. And he's actually a good player too. But offensively, he is just so bad sometimes. There was a play where Flores, I think it was the 14th minute, Flores made this gorgeous line splitting pass playing him through, and he just shanked the shot so bad. Like literally it went down. He was just like in on goal and he shanked it, and then the header over. Yep. Anyways, I would consider Echenike at right wing back just because like you can't get worse, but you have to play Miles Robinson behind him if you do that, because you're going to have some defensively rough moments. I think Jimenez's best role right now should be as a rotational player, and he should be in the Malik Pinto role. He should come in to close out for like a Buca or an Anunga for the last 15 or 20 minutes when FC Cincinnati's winning, and to be a defensive presence, because as solid as he looked out there, he didn't do anything with the ball. He played the Anunga role, receive it, pass it to somebody safe over and over. He never turned and really tried to press the issue, pressing forward. He didn't break any lines. And so playing with him from the start might just put you under a lot of pressure with the inability to progress the ball.
I think though, I got to imagine he's got some creativity in him, that he's not always that guy that plays the easy, safe pass. I've got to believe that as he went into a game like this, Noonan was like, just don't lose the ball, win the ball, make the easy pass, advance it up the field. So in a game that he maybe has a little bit more freedom and flexibility to play, I'd like to see him have that freedom. I don't think this is a game to experiment. I think this is a game, if you want to advance in Leagues Cup, I think you roll out the team that you know can bring a result, and not a team that's untested. But I'm glad you said that, Coach, about Echenike playing out of position. That's one reason I didn't know that was him when he first came in, because he's not a central midfielder, which is kind of the role he was playing. I would like to see him on the right. I will say DeAndre Yedlin, the header that he missed, I kind of had the opposite feeling you did, in that I'm like, oh, that was a really athletic play that he had. He still has something, but it went way over the goal from 2 yards out. The way he threw his body out there, I was like, all right, he's got something. Yeah, but the other goal he shanked, you mentioned, it couldn't have been worse than Torres late in the game for Juarez. Did you see his shot that just went like it was terrible? Went upper deck TQL. It was crazy bad shot.
And he tried to claim corner. He's like, that had to have gone off somebody. There's no way my shot was that bad.
Right. So anyway, Evander takes the team on his shoulders, hits a 30-yard banger. We talk about these long shots all the time, and Evander, the more we talk about it, the more long shots he is scoring on, which is crazy. From 30 yards out, he hits the one that ended up being an own goal off a defender's head off the corner, sends the game to penalties. Now, the lineup that they rolled out with penalties, the penalty kick takers, I was a little surprised to see Lucas Engel walking up to take the first penalty for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, so was I.
It was a guy that I guess you can trust him. He's a veteran. He's got nerves. He's calm, but he's intense, right? He's not going to get nervous. That's what I was trying to say. At the spot, I can see that. And then we have Matt Miazga coming up later. Regardless of if these guys should have taken kicks or not, I was surprised by the order of the penalties. As you guys saw Lucas Engel walking up, and then Orishano, and then Matt Miazga. Coach, I know we've talked about this, I think, in the past, about who chooses the penalty takers. Does the coach, does the team sort it out? What's your take on who's taking penalties in this in this match against Juarez?
I mean, every team does it a little bit differently, right? But they're going to be like analytics guys, whoever's running set pieces, which I think might be Dom Kinnear for, or maybe it's Kenny Arena. One of the assistants that is in charge of set pieces is going to have the analytics, and he is going to have some players that are like, you are not in the top 5. I don't care if you want to take one or not. And there's going to be players that they're encouraging to take kicks. But when it comes to that point in the game, most coaches are asking their players, like, you feel up to it or not? Are you carrying a knock? You feel good? You feel confident? And then those guys from there, maybe there's a bit of like a back of the envelope math sort of thing where they have ideas of who they want to go first, like if one of these 3 players. But probably Lucas Engel is really good penalty taker in training. Either that or there's a whole bunch of really bad players on the team and he's just one of the better ones. Maybe that's the case with Matt Miazga because he did not hit that with conviction. But my guess is that all of these guys have pretty good numbers in training in terms of their penalty conversion rate because the team probably practices penalties. If they don't practice penalties and they don't know, then there's a huge failure here somewhere, which I guess some of this we just can't know as fans, not being there at training all the time. But I had no problem with Engel being the guy because of what you said. He's got intensity to him, but he looks like he can hold his nerve. When Miazga walked up in third, I just pictured Nick Hagland in the U.S. Open Cup against Miami rolling the ball tamely. I was like, this is either going to go in the stands like a goal kick or it's going to be a tame shot. And maybe I put that bad juju out there and it happened. But, if there are guys that were on the pitch that were like, no, I don't want to take it, then that loss is as much on them, or that penalty kick loss is as much on them for like not having the stones, let's just say it, to get up and take a kick.
Yeah. So I got to think someone like Matt, like we've seen him take penalties before, right? I believe he's scored on the last 2 that I've seen him take. Maybe there was one in there he's missed, but he's surprised me. But he shoots it, if I remember correctly, the same way every time. And it's easy to know that as a goalkeeper, right? You look at their history, you study the players, you look at their tendencies, and he goes that way. It wasn't a well-hit shot. But I wonder in that moment, as guys are trying to figure out who's next, who's going to take this next ball, that Matt just steps up and says, I'm the captain, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to put you on my shoulders, and I'm just going to do it, and you guys follow after me. I was surprised to see him shooting third. Like, where's Evander? Why aren't you putting your guys in there are going to score and just jump ahead, get ahead? And then Evander comes in later and comes in 5th and doesn't score that goal, right? Which blew my mind. So, Jose, looking at our lineup here, did we send the right guys to the line? Did they make the right choices if they're the ones that chose? Would you like to have seen somebody else that was on the field to finish that game at the penalty spot?
I was surprised of me. I know Matt has scored. In fact, he scored in that infamous Pizzagate game against New York, if we remember that. So I was still a little surprised because, okay, but we got Miles, who's also a veteran. who knows how to do this stuff. We've got God, I'm drawing a blank right now.
We also have the young guys, right? We have
Yedlin. I mean,
Ekanike, we've got Jimenez that haven't played
yeah,
yet.
and Yedlin is there. I mean, these guys are veterans. They use it. So is Matt, but I was a little bit surprised to see him. But I felt okay. I've seen him score. I mean, he should be able to. And when he didn't, it's like, oh boy, now we're in trouble. Now, one thing though, the Juarez goalkeeper is known for being really good at stopping penalty kicks. He has a reputation for that. At some point, he was in the Mexican national team. He kind of lost his place to two other guys. I think he could be the third goalie, but Memo Ochoa still keeps hanging in there with his wheelchair, which is kind of annoying to a lot of us fans. Okay, for God's sakes, retire him. Well, no, he's a leader I don't care if he's a leader anyway. I don't care. Get him out of there. Give the young guys a chance. So I think this guy could be the third goalie. So he's good. But Matt's kick was just not good. So I think
Evander's was a tough kick to save. Like, it wasn't well placed, it didn't seem, but he hit it with authority. Like, he hit that with conviction to keep a ball like that out of the net. I think he saw Suarez's penalty the other night and was like, I can do that too, and just didn't get the piece of it that Suarez did.
But again, I was a little bit surprised because, Matt's been, even though he's been back now for several months, he was away from the pitch close to a year. And he hadn't been in these pressure situations because obviously he didn't make the playoffs last year. So that surprised me a little bit. But again, I thought, well, I've seen him score, so we should be okay until we weren't okay.
Yeah. Well, the truth is we've got one more game, right? We move on from Monterrey. We win that game. We move on from Juarez. We lost that game in penalties. We took a point away. Cincinnati moves on and plays Chivas this week in a match that is a must win if they want to have a chance at moving on. I don't know what the percentage is. I didn't see all the other games surrounding it where Cincinnati is sitting right now after last night's matches or this weekend's matches, but it's a must win game if we want to have a chance. And so,
and a must win by a large margin. So
yeah,
I mean, the percentage is low.
Yep. We do want to thank, we got almost to the end of our show and didn't thank our second half sponsor here, Beyond Exercise. So we do want to thank Beyond Exercise. They are local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. They've helped some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. We thank you for your sponsorship and for what you do for athletes and others in the Cincinnati area. We've got a little time to talk a little bit of our Talking Tactics segment here, Coach.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to you. What did you see in these games?
Okay, so you talked a little bit about the game coming up and like kind of how FC Cincinnati needs to come out and win that game. I think one thing that they have got to do for this game and going forward is deal with their rest defense differently. So rest defense is essentially how your players are positioned defensively when you have the ball. So when you see really good teams have good rest defense, what it means is when they turn the ball over, their players are in a close enough position to where they need to be to snuff out that danger. Right now, FC Cincinnati, when they're building out of the back, their rest defense is non-existent. They are so spread out that when a guy like Lucas Engel tries to mega defender and turns it over, you have Flores having to make a 30-yard run to try to cover that forward, making a run into the box. Sure, Flores should have challenged harder for that ball. I don't think he went all out to get there because he didn't expect the cross to be so good on that first goal. But Flores was out on the right touchline waiting for that ball to swing. What Pat Noonan needs to do, because this is coaching, Pat Noonan needs to talk to the guys, especially along the back, especially his two central defensive midfielders, and say, can you be an option for the ball or for the second pass and still be in a decent position? So with that case, Flores, instead of being out on the right touchline waiting for that ball to swing to you, can you be like kind of in between where the 6 and the 18 is? And as that ball switches from the left towards the right, can you make a sprint out to get back out wide and be an option out there? That way you have decent rest structure. Teams, whether it's going to be Chivas or whether it's going to be an MLS player, are going to continue to press FC Cincinnati because time and time again, they prove they will cough the ball up and let you have a chance. It's the way that Monterrey ended up with chances. It's the way that Juarez ended up with chances. So that rest defense, especially with those center backs and the 6 and 8, has got to get better.
Jose, any thoughts
I
there?
couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with him more. One of the things that we saw in these last 2 games again is how that back line sometimes just seems to leave these huge stretches open. And it's like Coach says, I mean, this is a coaching issue now. Say, hey guys, you got to do this when your guys are going up, and you got to be able to cover these spaces, because there was a lot of space there open in the Juarez goals and also in the Monterrey goals. I think it's correctable, but we keep saying this rather frequently, and getting a little concerned about it.
Is it a case of having partially a case, at least, of having wing backs that are converted forwards or converted wingers that are having to drop back, that don't want to drop back or don't naturally drop back, that's causing the outside center backs to stretch a little farther to fill those gaps? Is that part of what you're seeing, Coach, in the positioning and the rest defense?
I don't think so. I think that's a feature, not a bug, because you see DeAndre Yedlin doing it on the other side too. I think Pat Noonan is requiring those wingbacks to be the main offensive threat out wide. So he's saying get high and wide quickly. And then often the player that drops into that space in between the outside center back and the wingback is a central midfielder. You saw Dado and Orshano doing that in this game against Juarez and kind of rotating who's doing what, which is fine. But what has to happen then is when you turn the ball over, that player who's dropped in for that wing back has to understand they are now the wing back for a hot minute, right? And that's part of the rest defense. It's like, okay, when you're in this position, when the ball turns over, where are you going to go? And you need to see whether it's a Nunga and Buka or whether it's Dado or Ashano, a guy who's dropped into that space in between the center back and the wing back has got to put some pressure on the ball out wide. That's what happened with that Juarez goal that we're talking about, where Engel turned the ball over, is Anunga was dropped kind of into that space, and he didn't go pressure the ball. He just kind of stood where he would, kind of in the middle of the field, like, oh, I'm within 10 yards. If this guy tries to dribble towards goal, I'll get him. Well, great. He didn't try to dribble towards the ball. He just hit a pinpoint cross to a wide open player who was wide open because the other center back was out standing on the touchline waiting for a pass. So either you have to stop turning the ball over when you're under pressure, which I don't think is going to happen, or you need to adjust that rest defense and get guys bought into the fact that when the ball turns over, you have to pressure the ball immediately. You have to gain your structure immediately. And when in doubt, you have to foul the crap out of the other team immediately.
Yeah. No question. Yeah, absolutely.
Coach, I'm going to go back to the breaking the press a little bit. I know we talked earlier, we touched on it. And I think some of that has to do with positioning. We win the ball in the back, and then how do we get out of that? It's not the same as the rest defense, but I just wonder, what is the remedy for this? We've talked about playing a longer ball potentially to a target player earlier. Is it more players in the midfield dropping in to receive passes? Is it guys willing to make a turn when they get the ball and their backs to goal to take a chance at it, like someone like Kubo might do when he's in there? Or is it we just don't have the players tactically and skill wise that are making the right passes? I think we got the skill, but are they not just not making the right passes in those tight spaces to go forward?
No, you nailed it with the players not being willing to turn or play on the half turn. You don't even have to turn and beat somebody. So even Dado playing as an 8 instead of a 10, when he received the ball, when there was any pressure on him, he passed the ball directly back to the guy who gave it to him. And all that does is allow the pressure to shrink in. Mm-hmm. You have to, as soon as Buka came on, you saw him positioning his body where if I get the ball here, I'm going to be able to see more of the field. I call it playing on the half turn. You're already half turned when you receive the ball. And all it takes is a 2-yard dart and open your hips when you receive the ball. You can still check back to the ball as it's coming if pressure comes and play it back where it came from. The second thing is the guy who passes the ball has to change the angle. If I'm Matt Miazga and I give the ball to Dado or Buka, I can't stand there because if he gives it right back to me, the pressure just moves in. I need to pass him and I need to maybe back up and to to the right, like 4 or 6 yards, just enough to change the angle to where if I get that ball back, I have a different window to pass through. If you don't do that, the ball comes right back to Matt Miazga, and he's staring at the same window, only now it's even smaller because a defender also moved into it.
Yeah.
You have got to pass and move. I hate doing this because I can't stand those guys up north, but if you watch Columbus play, this is what they do. They are totally bought into every time you make a pass, you change the angle for receiving the ball. And every time you receive the ball, you try to position your body in a way where you can see not only the guy who passed it to you, but at least one other option. And those two little things makes the whole field open up for them.
Yeah. Which is how those Spanish teams of back then with their tiki-taka became so good, because that's very similar to that's what they would do. Drive the teams nuts until they finally adjusted. But yeah.
And technical ability helps. You have to be technical to be able to make the passes. But guys like Orishano, Buka, Dado, these guys are good enough to do that.
Yeah. Well, you see the bounce pass play usually around the midfield, where an 8 comes back with the center back and they pass it to see where the defense slides, where they move, and then sometimes it opens up space. That's a very smart play at times, but usually higher up the field. It seems like Cincinnati's doing that in their own 18 now, when there is no space to move the ball, right? And so even if Miazga slotted over to the right a little bit, there's still not a whole lot of space back there. Like if they would have played that same pass back and forth from Miazga to Buka back to Miazga at that midfield stripe, it's going to open up a little more space naturally. And it seems like Cincinnati, it sounds like they're doing that a little bit more as I watched too. It looks like they're doing that more in the back, and it's just not working. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I do think even if Miazga just changes that angle a little bit, if you look up in the window you have is Buka in a tight window ahead of you and maybe Yedlin out to your right. If you make a 2-yard, 3-yard dart after you give it to Buka, when you get it back, now you have Buka right in front of you, Yedlin out to the right, and another window up the field to a Kai Kamara or to an Orishano who should be checking into that space, because you've changed your angle just enough to where that defender who had to move out of that space to close on Buka, right? That space is now open to pass through, but not if you don't move. I will say FC Cincinnati had some really good moments where they broke the press in this match. Orishano a couple times got into the open field and running. They just didn't do it often enough, and then they made poor decisions when they were on it. I thought Dado and Orishano, especially in the second half before Dado was subbed out, Noonan made some really nice adjustments with the way they were dropping in and combining together to get out of the press. But again, Orishano just dribbling a little too much. Dado looked a little unwilling to make like that killer pass. Like he seemed to want to play a little too safe, probably because the team was already down and turning the ball over a lot. And I think then it just cascades from there. It snowballs.
Do you think that's a coach? Is that a coaching issue, coach? Or
I mean, I would say both. And as a coach, I would love to believe I can affect the players like that. And you want Pat Noonan, but also players have to make the decision. So it's a coaching issue insofar as either he's not telling them to do it, or he's telling them to do it and not showing them how, or he's telling them to do it and showing them how, and they're not doing it, in which case you have to put in a different player. Even if it's a kid, I would tell my players, like, fine, Anunga, you're not going to do this. Jimenez, you're going to play. And you know what? If you don't do it, you're a kid. Like I can teach you. I expect you to make mistakes, right? Like something's got to change.
Yeah.
One player we didn't talk much about, we don't have a whole lot of time left, is Orishano. And I thought he was going to take over the game late in the match. You talk about him breaking the pressure on his own, doing what he does best, running at a guy, turning him around, getting past him, cutting back on his left foot, getting a shot, getting a cross off. I would have loved to have seen that earlier in the game a little bit more. That's one of the times that I think, all right, Orishano, just do it, man. Like you've got space, just go. So it was encouraging to see in a game like this that he still got what we saw in him last year.
That's true, yeah.
So as we round out this show, right, we've got Chivas coming to town on Thursday, and then Charlotte.
I don't know who I'm going to root for, guys. I mean,
what's that?
I don't know who I'm going to root for. I'm a Chivas guy, but I'm an FCC guy.
Oh, no, Jose, you didn't just say that on air, live.
Yeah,
on air.
Hey, I'm a Chivas fan.
Who invited Jose
right
tonight?
Guadalajara, right there.
Who invited Jose tonight? No, again, must-win game if we want to have a chance of advancing. But then there's a Charlotte game coming up on Sunday, back to MLS play, which I'll be at, which I'm excited to see. So
cool.
I'm a little overlooking the Chivas game. I'm going to introduce some Fort Wayne friends to FC Cincinnati next Sunday. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll give you a chance to round out the show. Jose, we'll let you start with your final thoughts, even though you're a Chivas fan.
Yeah, I know. Well, not perfect. Anybody who's heard me before will know that I am not a fan of this tournament, the League's Cup. I think it's a cash grab. I think it's a waste of time, but I won't go into everything that I said before. What I will say is that if this team, FCC, is serious when they say we want to win silverware in any tournament, then they have to be more consistent on a game-to-game basis. I mean, we see them play really well, then not so well. I mean, there is inconsistency. And good championship teams figure out a way of being at least good consistently. And this team is not yet there. I don't know what it is, but it's just not there. Obviously, a team like Juarez will throw a wrench into any machinery. Yes, they played dirty. They played nasty. They played clownish. Okay, fine. But again, championship teams will figure out a way of getting around that. Now, with that said, this team I still believe, has a great roster on paper. And we have seen flash. We've sometimes seen entire games where they play really well. Say, okay, that's the team we want. And even the games that don't play well, we see flashes of that. So I think it is coming together maybe late in the season, but maybe that's what we need. Maybe in this final stretch is when we finally see the team that we all want to see on the pitch. Even if they don't win pretty, at least, be consistent, show the talent that is on paper that we know is there, that we've seen it time and time again. August is going to be a brutal month competition wise. We have Charlotte, New York City, Portland, over in Portland, if I'm not mistaken, and then Philly. So this is a stretch that is key for this team. And hopefully our guys can get enough rest, even though right now there won't be much of a rest, so that everybody gets healthy and we hit September with a full healthy roster.
Yeah, good take. The stretch you just talked about was the stretch we talked about last month too, with Miami twice and Columbus, and it doesn't get any easier from here. The teams are loading up, right? There's more players coming to the Eastern Conference. It's going to be tough in this transfer window. It's going to be a tough go in these last couple games. So good call there, Coach. Final thoughts.
I've been banging the drum all this time for Pat Noonan to put some kids in, and I keep saying, quit playing this guy or that guy when we have these kids that we want to see what they can do. And we finally got to see Steven Jimenez. We saw Ender come on, Echenique, and then when the game was in the balance, 2-2, looks like it's heading to penalties. We need some more offensive thrust to maybe win it in regulation, or at least put somebody who can take a penalty out there just in case. He throws on Brad Smith. Are you kidding me, Pat? I mean, you have Mboma Dem is the guy I want to see come on. But hey, even if you want to go back to the well and put on a Corey Baird, who we know can play some right wing back, can do something out there, can press, probably going to be more capable of taking a penalty than Brad Smith if it goes that deep, and maybe even more capable than Matt Miazga, right? But instead, we get Brad Smith. I am tired of Pat Noonan going back to the well on some of these tried and true things, including rolling out the same formation every time, including playing guys that we know like Sergio Santos or Corey Baird that can't really do anything instead of the kids. And so I am just pleading because I know Pat doesn't listen to this, but I know that Kenny Arena and Dom Kenny are both listen to this show religiously. Dom and Kenny, send him an email, get on AOL Instant Messenger, whatever you're going to do, and say, Pat, enough with this. It's got to be Instant Messenger because the guys he's rolling out there are probably all on Instant Messenger because they all look like me because they're all old, right?
They're still on MySpace, Coach.
They're still on MySpace. MySpace message him if that's even a thing and tell him, Pat, it's time to you've already done it a little bit. You did the toe in the kids' water. Let's just play the kids.
Yeah, no, for me, I guess as I wrap up the show, my final thought is I echoes back to what Jose was saying. As we enter this final stretch of the season, it's going to be a hard go. It's going to be a tough go for this team. It has been fun to see some of the young guys play in one game. We hope to see them roll out, maybe against Chivas a little bit, maybe, in this next match against Charlotte. But we've got guys like Denke coming back. We've seen him roll into form before he got injured. Hopefully he's getting back quick from his injury, because in his absence, we've seen guys like Evander really take over a game. We've seen guys around him like Dado develop. We've seen what Kai Kamara can do. And so I'm excited to see if Denke comes back in full form. Again, it's going to take a couple games, but to get to the end of the season with Denke in full form, with Kai Kamara being the threat that he is, not even scoring goals, drawing defenders away from guys like Evander and guys like Orishano and guys like Denke, I think we are a force to be reckoned with. Cincinnati's a force to be reckoned with as they get into this final stretch of the season. Leagues Cup definitely causes some congestion, but for the sake of getting some different players out on the field, getting their legs under them for the stretch that we may need them, I'm all for it, at least right now. If we beat Chivas, great. If we don't, we at least got some guys that got some time, and hopefully we didn't wear out the rest of them going into this final stretch of the season. So I'm excited to see where we go from here after this Chivas match. You guys, do you have any predictions of this match? Chivas Thursday?
I think FCC will win, but it's not going to be. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think somebody said they got to win by like 5 or 6 goals and 4 or 5
differential at this point.
Yeah, and 4 or 5 MLS teams have to lose as well. So I mean, the odds are really, really against us. So to me, win the game. Give the kids a chance. Just show some consistency and what this team is capable of, and I'll be happy. And if they lose, I won't be unhappy either. But, it'd be nice to see them play a good game.
Coach?
The 4th place team right now is Minnesota, who is on the same number of points, 4, as FC Cincinnati, and they are at +3, while FCC is at +1. So it stands to reason that if FC Cincinnati can win by 3 goals more than Minnesota wins by, and not have any of the teams below them, LA Galaxies 4 points +3, Columbus 4 points +2, etc. So it's still a really low chance, but it's not 5 goals. I think if they can win 3-0, I think that will give them a puncher's chance of going through. And really, even any win gives you a little bit of shot in the dark. But I think 3-0 should be what they are targeting. Now, whether they can get there or not, they'll probably be 3-0 going into the 90th minute and find a way to win 3-2 because it's what we do.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll. Chivas was a game last year that got lightning delayed till the next day, right? We had to pick up in the middle of the second half. Wasn't that Chivas?
Yes, that was Chivas.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's hope that doesn't happen, because I want to be there on a full strength FC Cincinnati team on Sunday when they face Charlotte. I'll be sitting in the Bailey, so if you see me out there,
okay, we'll look for you. Yeah,
you guys there. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We'll talk to you next Monday night. Have a great week.